Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features X-Force number 8, cover dated March 1992. The cover is by Rob Liefeld, and it features, as we will learn inside the issue itself, the Wild Pack. So we have got some familiar characters here. In the case of G.W. Bridge, an unfamiliar costume for him, very bright yellow and red. Makes him a big target on missions, I would say, so not the brightest of choices in terms of those colors, the color scheme. There's Weapon X, of course, there's Domino, there's Cable, and Cable is wearing the original costume designed for him with his first appearance in New Mutants 87 on the cover of New Mutants 87. So that's a little clue that this takes place in the past, as it turns out. The Wild Pack mission, and this character here is, well, every team's got to have a strong guy, and this guy's name is Grizzly, as it will turn out. So cover caption: turning point, Cable, past, present and future, and that is indeed what we get in the story inside. So let's open this one. Oh yeah, just one last thing to note: there is a coloring error here for Cable's mechanical arm and the side of his body there. So whoever the colorist is on this, not overly familiar with the characters. Let's open this one up to the first page. This picks up from the end, the very end of the previous issue, where Sam Guthrie, that is Cannonball, was impaled on the wingtip talon of Sauron, and Sauron's gloating there at Sam's death, and Cable's shocked, and so of course is Boom Boom there, and is telling Sam to wake up. And then we get this segue into, what is it? First person narration, third person narration, wake up Sam, awakening time to wake up Sam. And what is that about? Well, creative team first, Rob Liefeld, plot and framing sequence art. So he does the first and last page of the story. There's only 18 pages in this particular story. Mike Mignola is the guest penciler. He does the 16-page story, bookended by Rob Liefeld's couple of pages. Bob Wiacek, guest inker on Mignola's pencils. Fabian Nicieza, guest scripter. He's the regular scripter. Chris Eliopoulos on letters, and Steve Buccellato on colors. So let's continue with this. And just there's Rob Liefeld's very familiar Rob Liefeld art. He's probably penciling and inking that. Well, he's penciling it certainly, but he's inking it too, I would say. But we turn the page and we're going to see a very, very different aesthetic. Boom. There we go. And we get the story title, which is Flash Before My Eyes. And wow, what a page that is. And what a swerve in art style. And, you know, it's notorious or infamous or well known that many readers at the time who were big Rob Liefeld fans were very upset with this guest artist on the comic, Mike Mignola. But in years since, maybe have changed their minds about that, because Mignola really does have a style that is striking and that is so well considered, both in terms of design element to his style and also just his command of storytelling, panel to panel storytelling as well. And most particularly and most obviously, the use of solid blacks. Those it's a very particular talent that comics artists have, any artist has really, but comics artists in particular, the spotting of blacks, deciding when and where exactly to place heavy blacks on an image, and that takes real confidence and also skill, and Mike Mignola is one of the best at that. So here's our little transition panel there with Cable's flashing eye, and then we're in the past, as it turns out, in New Mexico 10 years back, so a decade in the past, and that's why Cable's wearing that original costume, and he's there with the Wild Pack. So we learn who these people are, and that's G.W. Bridge there, not wearing the yellow and red costume as it was colored on the cover, a much more appropriate costume for a mission. So we have the narration here is Cable's first person narration. What's going on is the Wild Pack is on a raid of a Hydra base, trying to retrieve some energy converter that they stole from our employers. So we won't learn until later on who the employers are. And then we get the names. It's me, Grizzly, so that's Grizzly there. Domino and Bridge over here on ground assault. So somebody is on aerial assault. Well, we'll learn who that is shortly. We thought it was going to be a cakewalk. We thought this was a Hydra research facility. We thought there would be minimal armed resistance. We thought right. So that is a little puzzle in and of itself for Cable. So we've got the team operating here. They're well used to working together. GW Bridge is in a lieutenant role to Cable, it seems. Domino, second assault coming in. Some rear support would be appreciated. Nicieza can't help but have a joke. I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole, says Domino. And Domino's quite joking in this particular little story. And there may be an interesting hint there regarding Domino in the present, if I'm not reading too much into it. But here in the past, she's a bit of a jokester. Domino jokes her way through it all. Bridge just clenches his teeth. This is what they live for. Grizzly, as usual, doesn't say much and doesn't need to. And me, I just keep everyone on his toes. And that is an interesting panel design as well. Borderless, except for the points that the Hydra goons hit the gutter, but otherwise borderless. An interesting design choice there from Mignola. Something else to note as well is that Rob Liefeld is the plotter, but he supplied Mignola with roughs for the issue, like his own layouts, and Mignola basically developed his own version of the roughs that Liefeld gave him. So those roughs, Rob Liefeld has made them available on his website, so you can actually compare what he gave Mignola and what Mignola did, and how Mignola changed things, in my opinion, to improve the storytelling, but also to suit his own style. So Cable here saying resistance up ahead. This is a lovely little page. Horizontal panels here. Nice little sequence with this high-tech cannon that the Hydra goons are firing down at Cable, Grizzly, Domino, and Bridge. So Grizzly takes a blast in the chest, but he's fine, so he must be, if not invulnerable, then certainly hard to wound. And again, another interesting panel here where we don't have a border, except at the point that the characters meet the gutter here. And it looks well. And the colouring from Buccellati is really suiting Mignola's style as well. So basically, Cable says that shake, rattle and roll. You got 6 seconds left to pull down the platform that the guys are shooting from. So he does a countdown there. 5, Hail, 4, Hydra, 3. It's good stuff from Nicieza, like this really crisp, funny, bantering dialogue over the art. I'd say he really enjoyed writing the script for Mignola's art. And down go the Hydra characters onto the ground, even en route to the ground, spouting the motto of Hydra: cut off one limb even, and another. And the thing is, what he would say is like sprouts up, but he hits the ground. So now a little bit more humor here. They're going to climb up to the top of the research facility, and this is a little bit of a kind of an implication of how long the team have been working together. Do not, I repeat, do not do what you did in Madagascar. Understood, says Bridge to Grizzly. So, as I said, like it's kind of an implication of how long the team have been working together, and that maybe Grizzly is a bit of a hothead as well. So Cable and Domino climb their way to the top with their grappling hooks there of this particular structure. And there's a little bit of interesting dialogue here between Domino and Cable. Domino here doesn't know Cable's whole story. So she says, "Took us forever to find your gun in all that rubble. You were crazy to get it back." So this is the Madagascar mission. "I remember, thank you. I still don't get it. It was just a fancy gun, big deal. Told you, one of a kind, now let it drop." Because Cable's arms and ammunition are future tech, and he doesn't want it lying around in the past. That's what, readers might be putting together at this point. And Domino says, "Interesting choice of words. What a comedian. Yeah, I'm a regular Lenny Bruce." Lenny who? What century are you from? So Domino trying to figure out more information about Cable. And as I said, 10 years in the past, she doesn't know the man as much as she does in the present. if it's the same domino, of course, if I'm not spoiling anything by saying that to you. This is a great anchor image here of Cable arriving up on the roof, and who's he got waiting for him except for Hammer here and Kane. So Kane, that's a name we've heard before, and I guess we can put it together, looking at the cover as well, that this is Weapon X, and in like Weapon X before entering the Weapon X program, before losing all his limbs, before becoming a cyborg. So here we are seeing him in the past as a young man. Yeah, just great composition of the figures here. Really cool stances and a sense of weight with those figures standing on the roof there. And then also you got the classic Mignola trope of the kind of the mistiness, the hatching lines indicating this kind of mist. So yeah, nice stuff. So Grizzly arrives up saying he hates climbing, and Cable says, "You've made that painfully clear to us, Grizz. Where's Bridge? Under me?" Another joke from Domino. That's a frightening thought. "Is this all the opposition you two geeks faced?" she asks, and Kane says, "Hey, they probably ran away when they heard we had topside this mission. It's not our fault we're so good, Dom. No, it's mine," says Cable. "Now let's get off the roof and find what we were hired to find." But I just really like Nicieza's dialogue here. It's witty and, as I said, like fresh, crisp. It's fun. It's like a fun action movie that we're watching here, reading in comic book form. So down they go, and I even like the design of the stairs that they go down, the way that Mignola has it wind around a little bit. It's a very designy element. And also his choice, remember the spotting of blacks, where a lot of the characters are in heavy silhouette, except for little details of their costume, works so well, so visually interesting. So things aren't as Cable feels they should be going. He says basically, "I want everyone's hair on edge, people." Bridge says, "We knew this was a research facility, Nate, but where are the researchers?" asked Domino. So this is the MCHAC, right, Hammer, Energy Matrix Channeler and Converters. So this is the energy doohickey that the team are there to retrieve for their, at the moment, mysterious employers. And I think is it Hammer here says, Hydra's working on the next century's equivalent of the hydrogen bomb. Okay, so they're trying to weaponize this system or device. And Kane explains a little bit more about it. But what they're looking for, the mission op, is the fiber ionic fibrillator. It should be accessed in the guts of the MCHAC. So that's Hammer's job. He says, "Give me 5 minutes and I'll have it out for you." I like these tall vertical panels here that Mignola has chosen for the layout. And Domino asks Cable, why is he so worried? He says, "It just doesn't feel right." Kane is confident. "I'm telling you, old man, you think too much. What's there to really worry about? A bunch of Hydra lab geeks. Hear the wild packs come to party. You think they're going to stick around?" Cable, though, says, "That's inexperience and stupidity talking, Kane. As usual, there's a way things should be and a way they shouldn't be. This is one of those times where we're slapping shouldn't be right in the face." So Cable's got a gut sense that something's off, something's wrong, and then Hammer trips something in the computer system, and up we get an image of Baron von Strucker. So he is the big boss of Hydra, and he's got a computerized message for whoever trips that particular switch. Whoever you are, have interfered with the functioning of a Hydra installation. So this is a recording. This is another interesting layout on this particular page. We've got a full face image of Baron von Strucker on computer screen, but Mignola has interrupted it or cut across it with a shot of the reactions of GW, Bridge, Domino, and Cable. So it's an interesting layout here. So Strucker says, normally I'd give you 5 minutes to evacuate, but really what you have is 20 seconds. This has been a recording. I do so hope your entrails do not unduly despoil the beautiful desert landscape. Auf Wiedersehen. So Cable shouts out, "Hammer, gotcha, we're set. Defibrillator's clear. Cable, baby, work that magic." So what's the magic that Cable works? Well, it's his body slide tech. So computer body slide by 6. Coordinate designation, Domino wondering again. Was is these body slide all the time. I do so love your funky toys, Nate, she says. So it's interesting, the characterization. She's the one who's most curious about who Cable is really, and where he gets his tech, all of that. But Cable's focused on getting them out of there, access point of origin, and speed it up. 3, 2, and they're gone. And that's a nice little sequencing there, panel to panel, where they've body slided out, and then we get this full vertical panel and the explosion. So the Hydra research facility blown up, nicely done, and a great shot of the helicopter there as well. So they're out and on the helicopter looking at the explosion, and I like Buccellato's lighting of this particular scene as well. So, and here is revealed their employer. It was AIM. So they're they have their device back, but they explain, they're delighted that the Wildpack services are always well rendered. But on the next page, there's a surprise for the Wildpack. This device that they risked their lives to retrieve for AIM is a non-functioning unit. We purposely jury-rigged it so it wouldn't work, expecting Hydra to pilfer it from us. We really only wanted to see how far Hydra had gotten with their MCHAC program. By the condition they left their facility, we have our answer, not very far at all. So, Cable's first-person narration. We ditched the AIM boys somewhere in Oklahoma. Everyone else was pretty peeved about being used that way. But the check they cut us more than made up for the inconvenience. So there's kind of mysteries here in the sense that, well, number one, the Wildpack wasn't working for a government agency, let's say. So they're not a lawful military unit. Instead, they're mercenaries. So that's point number one. Point number two is, what does Cable need a check for? Or is it that he gives the check to the others because Cable, as they note, has his own tech? You know, he goes to great trouble to retrieve his gun from the Madagascar mission. He's got his body slide technology, which he doesn't share the secrets of with the other people on the team. And they don't know where he's going or how to contact him. So I think it's Kane says here, how are we going to get in touch with you, old man? And Cable says, same way you always do. Wait for you to just show up, asks Domino. Exactly. So Kane says, cool. We kicked the living baboobies off of everyone again, didn't we? Including ourselves, I guess. Stay frosty, Cable. See you soon, Nate, says Bridge. Sooner than you think, GW. Or later. So, yeah, you know, like many little kind of mysteries have been teased on the title so far regarding Cable's mysterious past. We're getting a full story here, but his team members don't know the full story about him, so he still remains that man of mystery. But now we're going to get something very, very interesting, which is what happens next in the story. Professor, he asks, time slide. So not body slide, but time slide. So he's going to slide through time and not just space. A door for me. And the professor responds, doorway opened, Nathan. And I love the way that this scene is handled with these horizontal panels and this portal opening in orange. And we've got like cool blues for the nighttime desert scene. Cable on his motorcycle going and jumping right through the portal and then arriving somewhere else with the orange color scheme. So that is really nicely handled in the art itself, but also Buccellato is adding a lot to this with his coloring choices too. And then this is really weird, like he's thinking here in his first person narration about how he doesn't really have a home, and yet this is as good a home as he does have. And he's got these kind of robot servants, and he's named them. They welcome him back, and he's named them after, as it turns out, the founding members of the X-Men. So this one he addresses as Scott, this other one Hank. Shall I remedy the ills of your ancient combustion vehicle? Yes, Hank, thanks. Most welcome, sir. So he's going to get that motorbike serviced. And here he is, getting out of his gear, and one of the droids or robots he addresses as Gene. And the one called Scott says, "You were gone a relatively short period of time, sir. One day your time, Scott. 1 year mine. Your travels will always confuse me, sir. Shall we draw your bath, sir?" "No thanks, Gene. Technically, I've been gone over 1,000 years." So he's 1,000 years in the future. This is where he's gone, and he's gone to New York. So he says here, tonight I'm just going to take a bite out of the Big Apple and enjoy it. He wants to get out into the city. So this is New York City, probably Manhattan, 1,000 years in the future. So the 30th century, the late 30th century. One night turns into months. I let the hangovers wash over me like ash rain. So he's out boozing, he's out partying for months, and then it's back to work. "Professor, what's new on the research front?" So that's another interesting feature of the characterization of Cable. Like, he's a boozer, and he celebrates returning to what he counts as his home by going out on the lash, so to speak, for months, and now he gets back to work. "Quite a bit," says the professor, "since last we communicated on the subject, Nathan. Do you have a new awakening to report?" And that brings us back to that piece of dialogue on the first page about Sam and awakening, and the professor responds, "Possibly." So let's have a look and see what is revealed here. So we have an image there of Sam up on the computer screen, and the professor says, "Samuel Guthrie, born Cumberland, Kentucky, in the United States of America." Cable asks, "Do I know him?" "Not yet, but you will soon," because this is the Cable that's come from 10 years in the past. "Did you know him?" And the professor says, "You know my memory programming is faulty in regards to personal recollections." So if the professor is asking, Cable's asking the professor, did he know Sam Guthrie, then the professor has to have been around in the 20th century in some way, shape or form. And Cable says, "Yeah, mine too, huh? A part of you was but a child, Nathan, and I was a projected energy matrix. We are fortunate we survived it all." So their dialogue is not expositional. It's dialogue between two speakers that know what lies between the lines or what they're talking about, and it's not explained to the reader, but one has to think, if one has read X Factor 68 at the end of the Wills Portacio and Jim Lee plotted epic confrontation with Apocalypse, where Nathan Christopher is surrounded by a protective energy matrix projected by Ship, X Factor's sentient ship, and they go into the future. And so there's an implication here for the engaged, attentive reader that the professor is some part of the professor is Ship. That Ship survived. Anyway, Cable continues and he says, I know. Tell me more about this kid. So what little I have, Nathan. Samuel Guthrie was recruited by Charles Xavier. He was an X-Man. Reports are contradictory. He served as a student of Xavier's, but no records indicate he served with the X-Men. So, a member of New Mutants. What makes you think this farm boy is a High Lord? Official documents place Samuel Guthrie's presence well into the 24th century. Interesting. So High Lords are long-lived. Like, we're having to put this together from the dialogue. You're sure about this one, Professor? Cable asks. And the professor says, of course not, Nathan. I can never predict with a complete degree of accuracy. I can only extrapolate possibilities from what little established records I can access. So there aren't complete records of the 20th century or earlier centuries. Fine then. If a boy would be king, then a boy needs to learn how to be a man first. And I like the lighting there as well. That darker palette that Buccellato uses, Cable in shadow, and looking out from under his eyebrows as well. And you are to be that teacher, Nathan. It's the opportunity we've been looking for a long, long time. So now he's back in his gear again with his big gun, the droids around him. Your military accoutrements are prepared, sir. Much obliged, Hank. Professor, time slide me before Guthrie's awakening. Give me 6 months to a year in advance. Processing online. Be advised, Nathan, that in this time period you've made several enemies. Just the way I like it, he says as he steps through the portal. And the mutant population is on the verge of civil war. And someone has to win that war, right? Might as well be me. And the boy High Lord. Wish me luck, Professor. It's time for Sam Guthrie to wake up. And so where this leads to is New Mutants number 87. Isn't that really interesting? And it's just not spelled out, but it is something that the reader who's been there for a couple of years at least, following Liefeld on New Mutants and now into X-Force, will realise what this means and what the implication is. And then we're back, we're bookending with another Liefeld page, back in the present, and Cable is all baffled and confused. What if Sam isn't a High Lord? What if I walked and talked him right into his death? His real death? No. Arms, legs, head's intact. Come on, Sam. Come on, please. So Sauron there, still gloating, calls Cable a fool. Cable says, maybe so, maybe that's what I've been all along, but Sam isn't the only one who's going to pay for my stupidity, Sauron. And he blasts him. Hopefully he blasts him right in the chest, which he deserves at this point. You know, it's time for some action in the next issue. So that's 18 pages, 2 pages by Rob Liefeld, 16 by Mignola. And then we get a couple of one-page sort of posters, a Cable collection by Liefeld. So we've got Cable there, like a classic Cable pose. But here in the background, slightly covered over by Liefeld's own signature, is a headstone for Gideon with an end date of 1993. So is that like a foreshadowing, a plan, a plot point that Liefeld had in mind? Here we've got another kind of poster image of Cable as well. Not too bad. This looks like a shadow cast by a, like an external stairway, fire escape stairway. And this little sign here, this kind of poster, this ripped poster, my guess is that W and A and C and A is like wanted Cable. That's what I take away from that, which is what the Professor said to Cable. You know, he's got enemies back in, let's call it 1991, 1992. And there you go. By the way, if you were interested in this ad for Death's Head 2, I have a review of that 4-issue miniseries on the channel that you can check out. Then we've got 2 pages of letters here concerning X-Force number 4 and X-Force number 5. And that's it. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on X-Force 8, the issue with 16 pages of absolutely excellent Mike Mignola art, but also a true revelation of some aspects of who Cable is, and bring us all the way back to his arrival into the Marvel Universe, publishing wise, with New Mutants 87. So an important issue, I think. Do let me know what you think about this issue itself. Were you there back in 1992? Did you pick it up expecting a full issue of Rob Liefeld? And what was your take on those Mignola pages at the time? What's your take on those Mignola pages now? If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like the video on YouTube. It really helps the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.